Hello, everyone. Welcome. I have a presentation prepared about this new abortion law in New York that allows late-term abortions. It's pretty insane. So we're going to talk about that. Um, and yeah, just tell me what you guys think in the comments as I go through my presentation. And then afterwards, I will read your comments and just sort of, yeah, hang out with you in the comments. All right, let me just get to my presentation. Here we go. All right, I got my chat view there. Hello, you guys. Thanks for coming. All right, cool. Let me just get into my presentation and I'll read your comments a little later. Okay, so there's a late-term abortion legalized in New York. So for those who don't know what this is, what is late-term abortion? This is what the Democrats basically, if you're a Democrat and you're voting in Democratic politicians, you are inadvertently supporting this, okay? Whether you know it or not, a Democrat politician is more likely to allow late-term abortions and vote things like this into law because they're trying to pander to the base, right? They're pandering to the Democrats, and a lot of the Democrats want this. They're totally pro-abortion, so this is what you're supporting when you vote Democrat. I put this in here because sometimes I feel like this kid, like, okay, like, am I really helping by making a video like this? So many people have already talked about this, but I'm just going to add my 2 cents onto it because maybe I'm helping a little bit, and a little bit of help is better than nothing. So, what is this late-term abortion? Okay, it's basically an abortion allowed even at 9 months pregnant. So the mother can be totally pregnant, 9 months pregnant, and you're allowed to have an abortion, even when the baby is like fully grown in your womb, like up until the day you, like, right, like let's say the woman is in labor. Like she can literally request an abortion even that late in the game. So this is like, you know, for the people who are arguing before, right, the pro-abortion people were arguing, okay, well, if little fetus isn't a real human being yet, right? Well, you can't use that argument anymore. Like a 9-month-old baby, okay, that's totally a human being. So this just changes the whole game here. Let's go on. So this is the guy that passed this law, okay? This is the New York leader. The leader. I don't know what to call him. He's the guy that passed it. His mayor or the whatever he is. Yeah. And so the stipulation here for passing this law was that, oh, if the mother is at risk. But what does that mean? What does it mean for the mother to be at risk? This is where they throw in some real tricky language, some tricky maneuvers, and allow for, well, we'll see. We'll get into that. What qualifies as like putting the mother at risk? That's where they really push this through. That's how they were able to push this through. So the Reproductive Health Act permits abortions at any point during pregnancy if the abortionist deems it necessary for the mother's life or health. Okay, so as determined by the U.S. Supreme Court, health not only includes physical health, but encompasses emotional, psychological, familial, and the woman's age considerations, effectively allowing abortion for virtually any reason. That's the tricky thing, right? Because anything, if they're including emotional health and like psychiatric health, that is where a woman can like justify getting an abortion for anything, and they'll just say, "Oh, I'm stressed out. I don't want this kid," or whatever, and then they're having the doctors will have to comply with that and actually give an abortion. You know, for like emotional stress. How vague is that? That could be anything, emotional, psychological, stuff like that. So I might actually agree with this law if it didn't include this whole thing about encompassing emotional health. Okay, like if it was just purely to protect the woman's life, let's say the woman's life was at risk if she were to give this pregnancy, then yeah, of course. the mother's life and health is more important than the baby. Even a 9-month-old, I would still choose to opt to save the mother, of course, over the baby. But this isn't just about protecting her life. This is like she can just use anything as an excuse. Like, I'm stressed out or whatever, and that's not cool. That's what makes this thing ridiculous. Yeah, let's go on here. Okay, so this is how I found out about this is Lauren Rose's video. She made a video about this, and it was a really great video. You should watch it. But she got very emotional during the video, and she said a lot of good things. Okay, so this is a quote from her video. They would have you think that this is solely about risks to the mother's life if the woman is going to die. No, 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 that's not true. This law talks about the mother's health, and that's a tricky way of saying just about any reason at all. A viable fetus can be aborted at full term if it poses risk to the mother's mental health, even financial health. Okay, so just a bunch of reasons the mother can opt for an abortion. This is insane. Okay. So she got very emotional. She was even like at one point, like she was like looking like she was on the verge of crying. Like you can tell here, you know, she's got a soul. Like she cares about these babies, you know, and like this is a sign, an indication that you're not an NPC. Like if you care, if you have empathy for human life. And what does this abortion do? It devalues life. Okay. And as Eternal Life fans, do we want to be living in a society that devalues life, you know, where society will justify killing these 9-month-old babies, you know, even a 7-month-old baby or a 5-month-old baby? It's still devaluing life in a sense, and that can ultimately turn back against us. You know, if we devalue life in this way by allowing this, legalizing abortion, legalized murder, essentially, then what that does is that can come back on us. And someone could devalue our life and justify killing us for some stupid reason or whatever. You know, it's just a slippery slope is what it is. And another thing to point out here is, you see how like traumatized she is? So another argument against allowing for this abortion is that you are literally traumatizing adults, you know, adult human beings. So if you're valuing the adult, if that's your whole argument is to allow this abortion because you care about the mothers, well, think about all the women like Lauren Rose that you're literally traumatizing because they're thinking, okay, there's this Holocaust of babies. All these babies are being butchered and murdered, and how much that traumatizes them. So for that reason alone, this is immoral. Like for just the fact that so many of these people, you know, they're so deeply saddened and traumatized by this. You're causing them emotional stress. So what's more important? Letting some degenerate girl kill her baby, giving her the right to kill her baby. Is that more important than sparing the emotional stress and trauma of people like Lauren Rose and, you know, all these good people, good-hearted people that have empathy for these lives? Is that worth it? No, it's not. So you're not only killing the babies, you're stressing out people like this. And that counts for something as well. Emotional stress. Yeah. So really, it's really you're prioritizing the comfort, the selfish comfort or whatever of these degenerate girls who want an abortion. Because let's face it, most of these people who are opting for an abortion, they're not, their life is not at risk for having a child. They're doing it for their own selfish reasons. Okay, so basically by promoting this law, you're prioritizing these degenerate girls over the mental well-being and mental peace of virtuous girls, okay, that hate abortion. All right, let's go on. So Lauren Rose posted in her video this scene where, you know, after this law was passed, a bunch of these sick, degenerate people, these evil people are like clapping for it, right? And after they passed the law, they had a pink thing on top of the tower. to like, because they're thinking this is some victory and they're celebrating it. It's disgusting. All right. So here's what else she said. She said, these people have no shame. In fact, they want you to have shame. Look at the media, the Covington smiling Catholic boys. They want you to have shame. Americans who love God, Americans who defend innocent life, they want you to be ashamed, and they'll tell you that you hate women, right? That's what they'll do. They'll tell us, oh, we're misogynistic because we don't want to allow these people to kill their babies at freaking 9 months pregnancy. It's just, they're flipping everything around. It's like we're living in opposite land here. They're making us to be the immoral ones, the incompassionate ones. Please, someone explain to me what lover of women allows them to kill their children. And that's a good point, too, because what people aren't considering is the regret that a lot of these women have after they kill their babies, and they have this regret and they're stressed out and they become sometimes suicidal because they feel so guilty. They feel so ashamed that they killed their baby. So we should be stopping laws like this just out of concern for the mother, the would-be mothers who will have regretted their abortion, and then they get all stressed out and they sometimes kill themselves. They get that stressed out. There are stories of people who have literally killed themselves because they were so ashamed and guilty. Yeah, because ultimately it does come down into it. It's a selfish choice, right? Not considering the life of this baby and what that baby could have been if they were allowed to just live and become a real, human being, an adult. What that could have been, that potential just flushed down the toilet. All right. And just think about, so if mothers are feeling guilty, if these women feel guilty for killing a little baby fetus, right, after the fetus has grown for like a few weeks or whatever, just imagine how that guilt would be amplified if these now women are being allowed to kill their 9-month-old babies, right? Their guilt is gonna be amplified because it's like that's so much more of a human being that you're killing once the baby has grown to be 9 months. Or 7 months, or whatever the average. Maybe most of these girls aren't going to be aborting their 9-month-old babies, but there's going to be certainly some of them aborting their babies at 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. Okay, so Lauren Rose then quoted. She's quoting from an article she was reading. Okay, she said this is from a lady who used to work in abortion clinics. Okay. This is what she had to say. I worked in several abortion facilities over the years. In fact, I even worked at 2 clinics at the same time, and they were all the same with respect to the condition of the facilities and that counseling the women receive. One clinic where I worked in 1995 was typical. Light fixtures and plaster falling from the ceiling, rat droppings over the sinks, backed up sinks, and blood splattered on the walls. But the most distressing room in the facility was the parts room. Yeah, there's a room where they put all the baby parts. And what are these baby parts being used for? Like, they could be sold on the black market or whatever. Like, who knows what they're doing with this stuff? I mean, that's probably sounding, they're doing something with it. It has some kind of purpose. They're using these baby parts. They're not just wasting them. Maybe they're getting stem cells out of them or whatever. But it just makes you wonder what were maybe the real reasons for passing this law. Maybe they wanted more developed baby parts. Maybe they're tired of using the baby parts of like a 3-week-old fetus, and they want to encourage women to have abortions at 9 months because they want fully grown baby parts to use for their nefarious purposes. Right? Or their satanic rituals. What are they? Who knows what they're doing? I am just guessing here, but all right. So she keeps on reading these quotes. She says, after we discussed prices, she decided to save the extra $250 we charged for general anesthesia. So she was awake at the start of the abortion. Wow. So this girl is literally awake, and and they're doing the abortion on her. She looked down during the procedure and saw the baby's hand as the doctor took it out. So she's seeing her own baby's hand. I heard her grasp, saw what she saw, and quickly covered her eyes, but it was too late. She had already passed out. This woman literally is passing out because she's seeing her baby like being killed right in front of her. When she came to, the doctor was finished. The young woman looked up at me with horror in her eyes and asked me about what she had seen. I don't know what you're talking about. I lied, but I saw a part of my baby. I know I did. It's like a movie scene or something. Honey, I was there the whole time and I didn't see a thing. You must have imagined it. If you think it was hard maintaining my composure in such situations, you're right. Believe me, it takes a lot of beers to make yourself forget what you're doing, right? That's another thing I heard is that after these women have abortions, sometimes they feel so guilty that they resort to drugs just to try to numb themselves, right? Try to numb their guilt that they feel for having killed their baby. She goes on to quote, and this is well, we'll get to that later. Because I was drunk or stoned much of the time, I was able to continue this work for a long time, probably much longer than most clinic workers. It is a high turnover job because of the true nature of the business. The abortion business is an inherently dehumanizing one. A person has to let her heart and soul die or go numb to stay in practice. The clinic workers suffer, the women suffer, and the babies die. Actually, I saw that they're actually trying to pass a law like this now in Virginia, I think. So this New York now has set a new precedent, and other states now are trying to copy them and get the same kind of abortion laws. So this is the lady Lauren Rose has been quoting, and this was Jane Roe. She was used to help pass Roe versus Wade to make abortion legal. So that's the woman now. She became an anti-abortion activist later in her life. She's dead now, but you can see she had a religious conversion. I think she converted to maybe Catholicism, or I was reading, I forgot. I think Catholicism, and then she became pro-life, and she spent the rest of her life actually just trying to save babies because she felt so guilty for having been part of the cause of Roe versus Wade, because she was used essentially as a tool to just push abortion through. Yeah. And she actually was a little bit balanced, because she said in her interviews, she said she was okay with first trimester abortions, okay, but not second, third, and fourth trimester abortions. Like she would definitely be against this. If she was alive today, she'd be horrified that babies are going to be aborted at 9 months old. So now we're going to just go through some memes I found on Twitter about abortion. People are talking about this now. This is like the hot topic here. And just like that, everyone was talking about abortion and not about the wall. Yeah, that's right. Because this is big, you know. This sets what it is. It's setting a new, I guess the word is precedent. It's like this. It's a slippery slope. So now that we've allowed this sickness, I'm like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing society is going to allow after? That's actually one of the points that Lauren Rose made in her video. She was like, if we can allow abortion, right? If a society can allow this 9-month-old to be killed, then they're basically, then society is so far gone that they'll allow anything at that point, any kind of degeneracy, any kind of immoral thing. Because once you push it past a certain point, it's like there's just it's just going downhill from there. So here's a meme I found: the progressive development of abortion. So, the abortion activists used to just argue, oh, it's not a baby, right? It's just a little, piece of tissue. It's not a human being. And then they're like, they keep on pushing it. They're pushing it and pushing it now to the point where they're trying to justify killing fully grown babies. The sickness. And here's another one. This is my son at 15 minutes old. New York State now believes that 15 minutes prior to this photo, it's okay to kill him. Yeah, just think about that. It's like, just because the baby's inside of the woman doesn't mean that the baby's not there. It's like a real person. So yeah, this is sick. I mean, I would think even people who generally are pro-choice, I would think that they would be against this. You know what I mean? People who generally devalue the fetus as being just a fetus. Well, they should not have the same attitude towards a 9-month-old, right? You'd think there'd be more pro-choice people being against this. And I think there are. I think if you were to look into this, you'd find that. Even if you personally, yeah, I'm just reading my notes here. Imagine, right. Okay. All right, this is another image here. So apparently they did this on the anniversary of Roe versus Wade. I guess to just rub it in. Just to rub it in. Okay, so there's another meme. So you live in a land run by idiots when it is illegal to kill unhatched bald eagles, but it's legal to kill unborn babies. Like, just imagine that. We're essentially valuing the life of a bald eagle because I guess it's an endangered species more than a 9-month-old baby. It is very backwards. This has a good point here. Someone's just mocking up the typical, you know, I love New York logo thing. Yeah. So my conclusions here is that, look, like, you could have argued before that, okay, maybe the baby fetus isn't a human and doesn't deserve human status, and maybe it wasn't murder for, like, we're talking a tiny fetus, you know, before it even has a heartbeat. You maybe could have argued that in the past. You certainly can't. I don't see how anyone, unless you're totally twisted and evil, could try to justify this. Right? This is a new level. And what else? It's another thing to think about is it's okay. I think it's good that abortion, if it were illegal, because it's more incentive. Like right now, girls have very little incentive to remain pure because they could just get away with living this sexually hedonistic lifestyle and having all these sexual partners and having abortions on demand whenever they want it. And so there's less penalty in society for being this slutty type of loose women, right? Loose woman. It used to be where it's like that was highly stigmatized, and abortion was part of that. Women didn't want to be these sluts and promiscuous because they didn't want to have to deal with abortion, right? It was illegal. And so they were going to have to actually deal with their baby and actually have to go through the pregnancy as, I guess, their punishment. That was the part of the punishment for being such a promiscuous slut. And nowadays, all of that is removed. And so these women can just do whatever. They could just be as slutty as they want, as promiscuous as they want, with very little consequences other than the STDs. They're going to be, you know, absolutely contaminated, but there's less social repercussions. And this is causing, this is not good for women, right? To feel so free and so liberated to do all this stuff. It's part of feminism. Feminism pushed this whole thing. But if it was illegal again, if abortion was illegal, if Roe versus Wade was overturned, we would see a new purity movement, right? There'd be more women turning to purity because they would want to. They would have to, right? Not that they would want to. They would have to, because there would be so much consequences, and they wouldn't want to have to go to these black market abortions and coat hangers and, you know, resorting to all these weird methods of killing your baby. Like, it'd be harder. And why not make it harder to have an abortion, right? It makes sense to me. And like I said, you're going to be saving the virtuous women of the emotional stress. And not just women. Guys are stressed out about this too. Guys view this as murder. Guys don't want these babies to be killed. So you're going to be saving these virtuous people who are empathetic, who are real people. You're going to be saving them the emotional stress of having to live in a world, a society that is condoning this murdering of babies. And that's a very stressful thing to have to deal with on a day. They're basically living in a modern day Holocaust. So why not save these people from that stress? And lastly, at the very least, final message here, at the very least, we shouldn't allow these abortions to be funded by taxpayer dollars. Like, imagine, like, that's just adding insult to injury. Like, if let's say you're one of these people against abortion, now you're having to fund it with your own money because the government's essentially stealing your money through taxes and then funding this Planned Parenthood and all these abortions so women could kill their babies at 9 months. Imagine that. That's just like, that's such an insult, right? If you're so against it, you're vehemently against this abortion, and now they're forcing you to pay for it. Just how evil that is, right? So at the very least, this stuff should be privately funded. You know, there'd be private institutions doing this abortion, and it wouldn't be a government thing. At the very, very, very least. All right, that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed. And now I shall go to the chat view, see what you guys are saying here. All right, let me open my chat window. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, so what are you guys saying here? Let me just go to the top. I'll start from the top, see what I missed. Joe Black says abortion saves lives. Well, in certain circumstances, right? I said I would justify it if a women's life was legitimately at risk, right? I would never prioritize a baby, even a 9-month-old. I would never prioritize a baby over the mother. If her life was legitimately at risk, right, then I would allow it in those rare circumstances. But they're crossing the line here. Van Helen is okay with it. Okay with the killing of 9-month-old babies. What? Allie says, "Hi, Roan. I just want to say that I'm against abortion too, and thank you for always defending the Jews. I'm glad you're against abortion. That's awesome. And yes, I will continue defending the Jews. You're very welcome. The Jews are awesome." Allie says, "I love the music video thing you made with Schindler." Yeah. Well, then you must love Judgment, because that video I made was all about judgment of the evil, immorality, the evil people in this world. But yeah, Schindler is a hero of mine. He's the role model. Glad you like him. Van Halen says, "I'm actually very okay with this." Okay. Jordan Miller says, "By saying hypothetical God, are you saying that you don't believe in this God?" No. No. By saying hypothetical God, it's just a shorthand way of saying that I am agnostic. But at the end of the day, I still don't know for sure if there is a God. So I'm not sure. I'm not making a knowledge claim. That's why I tell people it's still the hypothetical God. I do believe in a God, but I don't know for sure. I can't know for sure. I don't even know. I can't know the rules of the God. I can't know how the God exactly would judge us, but I can guess, and I try to guess. I try to make an educated guess using logic and, cherry picking things from like the Bible that makes sense. Like, oh, that makes sense. If there was a God, it would make sense that God would judge people in this way, right? Or that way, and that there would be rules. And it also, I deal with worst case scenario. So I'm always just trying to consider what a God could be like. If there's a God that judges people, like it'd be possible, certainly, that God might judge people, for instance, for killing 9-month-old babies and being okay with that, right? So I would not be okay with killing 9-month-old babies just on the chance that there's a God and would judge you for that, right? Because we don't know. At the end of the day, we don't know the rules of God, but let's guess, and it's possible. So why not be prepared? Why not live as though there's this strict set of rules, and that you might be judged, right? You might be judged according to a standard of morality, and we don't know, but we could still guess. We could still live, to prepare for that kind of thing. Aiden says, Is this degenerate, Rowan? Let's see. What do you post here? Uh-oh, what happened here? Open link in new tab. What is this? Oh man, it opened it up in a wrong tab. It's like not opening this right. Ugh. You guys don't even see this. Oh well. Yeah, he posted a degenerate picture. I'm glad you're not seeing it. Van Halen says, I mean, it's better to do it safely, legally, when doing it unsafe. I'm okay with this woman should have the choice depending on circumstances. I mean, it's better to do it safe legally than doing it unsafe. I'm okay with this woman should have the choice depending on circumstances. Well, like I said, depending on circumstances. Like if the woman's life is in jeopardy, then that's one thing. Aiden says, hey, Rowan, instead of attacking Satanism all the time, why don't you play devil's advocate and formulate an argument in defense of Satanism? Satanism makes sense to many, so why not just try to understand it? What is there to understand? What am I not getting about it? It seems completely evil because it's basically, it's very careless, right? It's basically saying, you're your own God. You don't have to be accountable to anyone. Do whatever you want. Satanism is basically do what thou wilt. It's do whatever the heck you want without regard for rules. It's purely self-interest. But at the end of the day, it's really not self-interested, because if you're truly self-interested, you would be considering that there's a higher authority than you that might judge you. And so a truly selfish person would never be a Satanist because they would be too afraid of being possibly judged by a God, right? None of us know for sure if there's a God, that therefore we should all be living with a moral standard. We should be having rules and being afraid. God-fearing person. Satanism is the opposite of God-fearing. So what am I not getting about it? What type of argument that can be formulated? What type of argument could even be formulated in defense of such a stupid philosophy? I don't get it. Explain to me. It is purely. Ali said it. It's dumb. Satanism is dumb. Being a God-fearing person is smart. Van Helen said, I'm okay with that as well. Abortion is bad for everyone, in my opinion, but it's better to do it safe. Oh, I just read that again, I think. Wait. Okay, you're saying if it was illegal, there'd be a black market for abortion and they'd be doing the dangerous options, right? Women would be poisoning themselves and using coat hangers and stuff. Yeah, I get that, but maybe that's a worthwhile sacrifice. Maybe any women that are so degenerate, like we should still have options for people who are raped and stuff. But the women who are so degenerate that they're going to be these sluts and then try to have abortions all the time, those women deserve to, they deserve to get messed up or whatever. If they're going to do some stupid thing like using coat hangers and stupid black market abortions. Like I said, why prioritize the comfort, the selfishness of these degenerate women at the expense of virtuous women like Lauren Rose? She has to live with this stress on a daily basis. Lauren Rose has to live with this knowledge that this is happening. How traumatizing that is. Why are you prioritizing these degenerate girls who want to have abortions over the mental well-being of women like Lauren Rose? Explain that to me. Aiden says, what was the point of your racial love worldwide video? It was just to point out that there's beauty in all the races, and that there's like racial appreciation. This is appreciating all the races have something special to offer, and they're all special in their own way. They're all different, and it's cool to see that, because oftentimes we see the races being portrayed in a propagandizing way, where there's a bias, right? The person is showing you the worst of a race, right? They're showing you the worst aspects of a race because they have an agenda to promote a certain thing. They're skewing, right? It's a propaganda thing, a technique, because they can just focus on, oh, look at this, look at that. I was just trying to say, well, look at the beauty, look at the beautiful aspects of the races. Look at the beauty. There's beauty in that. That's all, because I see a lot of, even self-hatred. There's races that like feel like they're self-hating themselves, and they don't need to. Like, you should be happy with your race, whatever your race is. Like, there's an awesome aspect to it, whatever it is. So it was just to counter that whole thing. And Van Halen says, "Are you doing it? Doing what? What? Sometimes morality is not the right thing to do when it comes to laws, in my opinion. Like legislating morality. Yeah, but sometimes, like, I get it. You're like libertarian. You seem to be libertarian. I'm libertarian too. I want general freedom. But we also have to take into account how a society can completely degenerate if stuff like this is allowed. Like, what's the next step? It is a slippery slope. If women are allowed to kill their 9-month-old babies, a society that puts up with that, what's the next thing a society is going to put up with? It's degenerate. It's murder. Why would you treat it differently than murder? It's a 9-month-old. Okay, I could, like I said, I can argue like, okay, maybe up to a week. You've been pregnant for like a week or maybe 2 or something. Like, why push it further than that? Why allow abortions at months, 2 months, 3 months? It's just getting crazy. Jordan Miller says, what political pundit most accurately represents your political views? I like Ann Coulter a lot because she's so strong on immigration. I don't like that she's been very harsh on Trump. I think I'm like of the opinion that Trump is a mastermind. He is playing 4D chess and he knows what he's doing. And I don't think she's giving him credit enough. And so there's that. But I like her that she's so strong on immigration, and she so wants to build the wall, and she doesn't like the demographic replacement of America. Like, she doesn't like the she wants to maintain Western civilization, not let it degrade into chaos, and having all these immigrants come over and then leeching off the welfare system and everything. And then I like, Nick Fuentes is good. Nick Fuentes is very smart, and I like him politically. I think we align very well because he's a nationalist like me, and we see eye to eye. We're both Trump supporters on stuff, and he's against degeneracy and against a lot of the immoral stuff going on. So he's another one that I like. Lauren Rose is cool. She's very smart on a lot of stuff. Okay, so Van Halen says, being a Satanist sounds like you're being a try-hard edgelord. It's just cringy. Yeah, it is cringy. Van Halen says, if you tell someone they can't do drugs comparing to tell someone they can do drugs, who do you think is the more likely person to do drugs? That could also go for abortion, which is why I am in. Well, I get the drug thing is one thing, but that's a libertarian issue because libertarians generally, they're the non-violent, non-aggression principle, right? You can't violate other people's freedom. So I get the whole taking drugs, legalizing drugs. I get the legalizing prostitution. I get all that. Like, I'm on board with that. But when you're talking about murdering, that's beyond libertarianism at that point. That's where the law has to step in to protect the life. Because we're talking a 9-month-old baby. Just because it's in the woman doesn't mean it's hers. It's a different genetics. Okay, so that's a human being you have to protect. And that's where it's not just a liberty. You can't just like, I get the libertarian thing, but this is way to allow women to do that is too much freedom. That's like freedom to murder their baby. You can't do that. And I'm sure a lot of these people want to push it to be like literal infanticide is legalized, where even after the baby's born, like up to a certain point, you could just like kill your baby. That's probably what they're going to push for next. I think abortion is just a bad decision for the most part, but I'm in favor with this law because it's better to do it legally and safe rather than doing it illegally, right? I don't think so. I don't think so. If it was legal, then they would do it illegally and can hurt themselves doing so safely. Yeah, this is an old argument to promote abortion, but this is a game changer, though. We're talking about 9-month-old babies. That's different than the old conversation. The old conversation was like, maybe in first or second term. Okay, but now we're talking like they're wanting third trimester abortions. This is a different thing. Old arguments don't apply in the same way. Women who are pure wouldn't be pure because of a law. They would be pure from their own decisions. Yeah, but we can at least set up society and stigmatize certain things and put the laws in such a way to discourage the degeneracy. Because if we just allow for it and make it this acceptable thing in society, then that's what they're going to do. So we have to set up society in a way to like push them into virtuous behaviors. You can't just like make it, you have to it's tricky. You have to set society up in a certain way. And this is the wrong way to set it up, to encourage virtuous behaviors. But, maybe it's a test by the hypothetical God. If there's a God making this world this giant test, maybe that's exactly what God would want. He would want it would be legal to kill a 9-month-old baby and have these late-term abortions, because then God would have more information as far as what type of person you are. That you're a type of person that would have an abortion at 9 months. Then the God would have more information to go on to judge you. They would judge you for doing something like that, but they would have to allow it to see what really your true colors are, what's in your heart, that you're so, this sick, degenerate person. So, lastly, Van Halen says, I'm not for the wall, and Trump shut down the government for the longest time in history to get approval, so he would have to pay taxes for a useless wall. Useless wall? It's not useless. The wall is to protect us from the crime, the migrant crime. Look around, look at the statistics, all the crime that is going on, perpetrated by migrants and illegal immigrants. Okay. We need the wall. We need something. We need to protect ourselves. Anyways, that's about it. This was fun. I will keep this a shorter stream because I think we're done here. What crime? The migrant crime. Where have you been, dude? The migrant crime. Migrants, the illegal immigrants, they commit a lot of crime. And there's people being raped and murdered pretty much on a daily basis. Drunk driving accidents. They're drinking, driving. They're everything. Sexual abuse, sexual crimes, right? Van Halen says, most crime is coming from white suburban neighborhoods. I don't know where you're getting your statistics. I don't think so. I don't think so. People being raped is not from the immigrants. It certainly is in many cases. Not all the time. Obviously, there's whatever. There's people, like native born Americans and Westerners where we rape too, and we commit crime. But I'm just saying, maybe a disproportionate amount of crime is coming from illegal immigrants and stuff. That's the impression I get. That is the impression. I don't have the stats right here to prove it to you, but I just look around. Look at the articles and stuff. Van Halen says, someone I know raped a 15-year-old and he was born and raised here. Well, like that stuff does happen, but you can't just use like one example. I mean, that's one example. I mean, yes, but that's not to say there's not still a disproportionate amount of crime coming from illegal immigrants and stuff. And even if there isn't a disproportionate amount of crime coming from illegal immigrants, it's still bad that there's undocumented people, and that's just chaos. We need to know exactly who's coming into the country. There needs to be background checks. There needs to be extreme vetting. We need to make sure there's no terrorists coming into the country. So look, even disregarding this whole argument that migrants might commit more crimes, even taking that, let's say I'm wrong. We still need the wall. We still need law and order, right? Most of the immigrants are families, not terrorists. And we're all immigrants. That's how America was founded. You don't get it, man. You don't get it. We have to have... Yeah. Don't get it. All right, that's it. This has been fun. What is your differentiation between a terminal mother and the 9-month-old baby? What is your differentiation between terminal mother? What's a terminal mother? Like a mother that's at risk of dying, like they're terminal, and a 9-month-old baby. Well, I would always choose the life of the mother over the baby. Okay. Clearly. All right, you guys, this has been fun. Peace out. May you live forever. And let's fight against this insane abortion law. The Democrats have crossed the line. Clearly, this is immoral. This is wrong. And vote Republican. If you don't support stuff like this, vote Republican. Goodbye. Thanks for hanging out.